Scentland, the land of scent. Hello and welcome, Chris, back with another fragrance review. And this time we'll be looking at a tremendously nice release from the house of Escada from the year of 2002. It's one of my favorite lime themed fragrances due to several aspects that I will mention during the review. Now, Escada is a German house, German designer that has been founded in the late 70s, I think 78 it was, in Munich. And they've been tremendously successful in the fashion industry as well as with their fragrance line that included many great fragrances, just like, for example, Escada Purhomme from 1993, which by now is really truly considered an all-time classic. Now in 2002, as I mentioned, this fragrance came out that I'm going to be introducing to you from the very hands of Dominique Ropignon and Laurent Bruyère, and this duo has created a fantastically nice, fresh, exotic smelling, fresh, spicy, lime-based fragrance called Sentiment, ladies and gentlemen. What a nice name for a wonderful fragrance. And I mentioned it very much on Fragrantica and as well as maybe in my earlier reviews that I really love this fragrance, and I've been using this for a longer time period, so I have really gathered a lot of experience with this fragrance, and therefore I'm confident to say that this is one of my favorite fragrances, especially when looking at fresh, the genre, this category of fresh, spicy. Why? Because the blending of the lime is done in such a way that it's not only present at the beginning of the fragrance, but it follows it through, going hand in hand with the juniper berries note in this fragrance, which from the very beginning onwards creates this fantastic, fresh, spicy, aromatic combo that travels throughout this fragrance, and it's very unusual as well. It gives this unusual touch, especially when pink pepper and nutmeg start to join, and then there is a backbone of sandalwood cedar, maybe some vetiver in there, not exactly sure, but it's not very strong. You smell some woodiness to it, but the main players for me is the juniper and the lime, backed up by the nutmeg and the pink pepper, which gives it this kick. There's a kick in this fragrance due to the nutmeg and mostly to the pink pepper that makes this, definitely pink pepper, that makes this really funky. Funky it's maybe 70s funk music is a very good theme for this fragrance, or could be a good theme for this fragrance, because this is kind of it's kind of timeless. It's modern smelling, okay, yet it has some classiness about it, and it's extremely sexy. So I could really see this fragrance in a being worn in a club in the 70s, because it has really balls, this fragrance, and the performance is fantastic. I don't know why this fragrance did not get more attention on the market or from the market, because performance-wise, it's the projection sillage are strong yet never pushy, while the longevity is really good, especially if you let it become one with your own body heat underneath the shirt, wearing it like that. It really keeps on shining. It's not that multifaceted. It doesn't really evolve that much throughout its development, because it continuously stays to be this juniper lime combo with the nutmeg and the pink pepper. So it doesn't really develop in a way that changes throughout 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, but it changes slightly. It becomes a bit woodier, and but it maintains its freshness throughout the entire development of the fragrance, which is very rare. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the lime and the juniper, they shine together throughout the entire development of the fragrance, and that there is something quite rare, that you have a fresh top note that does not disappear after 5 minutes. That's the main point here with this fragrance. You get this exotic, fresh, spicy lime, juniper, exotic cocktail smell at the very beginning, and it doesn't leave you. You will not get disappointed by these notes leaving you, and then you are being left with some boring, woody, dry down. This is not the case here. This is why I tremendously love this fragrance, because it's like a reliable partner, like a reliable friend. If you go out, I think this is a very much clubbing fragrance. It's totally, I see that totally, day or night. Anyone above 20 years old can wear this, I think. If a guy in his 50s, 60s wears this, he comes across as extremely cool. It's a very cool fragrance, one of the coolest fragrances I have ever come across. Cool, sexy, invigorating, yet serious at the same time. This is not a summer fragrance that it's just there, and this has a tremendous own signature smell, its own backbone, and its own presence. And since it's quite rare, or rarely worn by anybody, it definitely makes you stick out from the crowd. So this will beat the shit out of Sauvage and Invictus and Aventus and all that. Easy. For me, it's not a question. And therefore, its versatility is great. Maybe not the best for a work environment. You will get a lot of compliments, but it has an aura that's just too relaxed. It's too busy having a good time. This fragrance, it's too busy to having a good time. And so if you're like doing your Excel sheets or sitting in a meeting or whatever your work is, it will not, the seriousness of your work will not maybe pair up perfectly with the playfulness of the fragrance, and therefore this might be some contrast there. But again, if you want to stick out on your workplace or at your workplace, this might be something that you want to take a look at, because it will definitely, it's a differentiator, right? You will get noticed, you will get some very positive feedback, and as I say, the combination of the notes as they are, as I have described them, makes this unique, paired up with the way the development goes, keeping the fresh top notes, fresh spicy top notes alive. And in regards to the bottle, it's just a cool bottle. I mean, the color makes the juice justice, although it's not this ruby colored smell that you get, because it's maybe a little bit more toward the yellow. But I like the bottle. It's easy to handle. It's quite futuristic, very modern. Sits well in your hand, and it's also very romantic as well. I'd say, sexy romantic. Definitely quite ageless, as I mentioned. Brilliant performance. I mean, if you put all these factors together, that's how it ends up being one of my favorite fragrances ever. I've been using this mostly while I was doing traveling abroad, and it immediately transports me back onto the plane, onto the city night in a different city, different location, and therefore I totally adore this fragrance. It's really something that I have always with me when I do my travels, or when I want to have a good time, maybe on a night out. I don't wear it for work, the reasons I have explained already, but Escada Sentiment for me is already a classic fragrance. The only downside, if you want to have one downside on this, I'm not really happy to say this, but obviously it's a bit synthetic smelling. The lime juniper, maybe it's the unusual way of blending that makes it a bit artificial smelling. But then again, think of a cocktail. I mean, all cocktails do somehow smell a bit, because it's a new composition, right? You never smelled it before, and therefore you think, okay, no, this is kind of Is it artificial because it's not the smell of a flower, not smell of leather, not smell of oud, not smell of sugar, not smell of any flower or wood or whatever. This is a mixture, a blend. So it's an unusual, new, artificial smell, which at the same time comes across very inviting, very invigorating, very friendly as well. It's not too pushy, and very different, very different. Very important with this fragrance. It's different in a very, very good way. Totally signature worthy as well. If your work is that way, that you're maybe more an artistic person, in that case, totally a signature fragrance. Seasons, to close it, seasons, I would really say this is a springtime summer fragrance, but it has enough depth to reach into the autumn. In the winter time, not sure. It's not that much of a winter fragrance, I think, but again, it's up to your tastes. And so thanks very much for your attention. That was Chris from Sandland with Escada Sentiment, one of my favorite fragrances from the house of Escada, and overall in general as well, from the year of 2002. Thanks very much, and I'll be back with more. It puts you in a good mood. Puts you in a very good mood. It's really a mood booster as well. You can't be in a bad mood smelling this. If you smell this, you're getting busy, right? You're getting busy. Friday night busy type of stuff. Okay, like Friday night at the bar. Okay, something like this. Hanging out with boys and girls and whomever. Okay. Thanks very much. Take care.